All right, ladies, thank you for being here. This is Dr. Brandy Victory, your host for the Ultimate Biohack for Women. I am really excited to bring you another amazing woman to our show today. Her name is Susan Bratton. She's an intimacy expert to millions. And we are going to talk about O-shots, whatever that is. I can't wait to find out. Vaginal rejuvenation, blood flow and libido supplements, vacuum erection devices, hormone balancing, and so much more. So I am just going to let Susan tell you all about it because she's got a lot to say. So welcome, Susan. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Brandy. It's so nice to be here. And I want to tell you what an O-shot is. It's an orgasm shot.
Of course.
Yes. So at 60 years old, I'm having the best sex of my life. And we get better at making love as we age. The problem is that our genitals atrophy from aging. We have sensation loss. For women, we lose lubrication, our vaginal tissue thins, we can start having painful sex, our libido can begin to falter, and we have incontinence. Sometimes we have vaginal laxity where we get too big and loose. Other times, some women feel like they say to me, my vagina has fused shut. What am I going to do? I haven't used it in so long. The beautiful thing about the vagina is it is the stretchiest muscle in the universe, and it can be remediated very, very well. So many couples, I know, so many couples end up with that, you know, they have some painful sex or erectile dysfunction or what have you, and they hit a wall and they just stop being intimate, and then they stop touching each other because they don't want to start something they can't quote unquote finish, and then they end up living in a platonic life rather than having a super sexy, hot sex life with fun, pleasure, and orgasm till the day they die. And that's what my goal in this conversation today is to talk about the biohacking that we can do, which uses regenerative techniques and anti-aging and longevity therapy and treatments that's available to everyone today, often most of it in the privacy of your own home, to get back that 30-year-old yoni you used to have. And the yoni is the word that I use for the female genitalia, the vulva. Our male-bodied partners, and so often we're Dr. Mom, they have erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, delayed ejaculation, loss of sensitivity, prostate issues, and penile atrophy. And the cruel twist of fate is that as we age and our vaginal tissue thins and we get a more open vagina, our partner's penis shrinks and he gets a smaller penis, and we lose that tight fit and that grip. And we lose our musculature to get the grip to create the orgasmic contractions. We lose blood flow, we lose lubrication, we lose muscle tone. So a lot of women think that it's their libido that is the problem, that they don't want sex. And mostly that's just because they've been having sex that isn't, I would call it the patriarchal kind of sex rather than the matriarchal kind of sex, the kind of sex a woman's body needs. If you have sex that is male oriented for 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years, what the hell would you want to keep having sex? But I believe that the women who are listening to or watching us today, Brandy, they're the women who are holding that lighter with that flame of hope for their sexuality for the future, and they want answers to their problems. So I'm here to give you what you need to pinpoint what your issues are and fix them. Because I think that so often we just don't know what's out there and available, like an O-shot, which is a very, very simple thing. But I'm not going to start with the O-shot because I like to start with things that get to the root of the problem first. And the O-shot is the frosting on the cake. It's not the cake batter.
Okay, so we need cake batter.
And what I thought we could do is start with our female genitals and how we do sexual biohacking on our vulvas and our vaginas and our clitoral structures. And then we could, at the end, just do a light touch on the male body, because so many of us care for our penis owning partners.
Of course. Yes, please.
So the one thing that I wanted to start with were some pictures, which is why you're going to want to watch the video. First thing I want to show you is what it looks like inside your partner's penis, because I want to show you what it looks like inside your female genital system. And I want to do a comparison for you, so you know the system that you're working with compared to your partner. And I'll tell you that anatomy is a very big part of understanding how to have pleasure and satisfaction with intimacy. So the very first thing that you see is a penis. And if I take away this top part of the skin underneath the penis, you see these big spongy chambers that run up and down the length of the penis. If I show you our vulva, here's the outside. And if I peel back the layers, the inside has 3 erectile tissue networks in it. Our vagina is wrapped in the same amount of erectile tissue as our male-bodied partner. We have the clitoral tip, and then the clitoral shaft, the clitoral arms, the clitoral legs, the urethral sponge, which people call a G-spot. It's not, it's a big long noodle of tube of sponge. And then the perineal sponge underneath our vagina. And all of this tissue gets erect with proper stimulation and blood flow. So if you imagine a banana, it's not hard to imagine a banana is a penis. If I tell you that half of your male partner's penis sticks out of his abdomen and half of it goes inside, and he's got all of this entire banana's worth of tissue, is all the fruit of this banana is erectile tissue. Most of a man's penis is spongy tissue that fills up with blood. We women have exactly the same amount relative to our size, the same amount of erectile tissue wrapped around our vaginal canal all the way up into our clitoris, inside our labia, and below our vagina, between our rectum and our vagina. And the problem is that we've been having sex because men have a very fast-acting hemodynamics. Blood flows into their penis quickly. And if he's healthy and doesn't have a lot of heart disease, it gets trapped in there. It locks in with smooth muscle tissue and epithelial layer, and he has a nice hard erection. Well, our hemodynamics are slower because I always say we don't have a banana, we have an English muffin. First, we have to toast it. And that takes, a few minutes, and then it gets nice and warm. And then we get the butter and we put the butter on, and then the butter has to melt into all the nooks and crannies. Yeah. And essentially the butter, the toasting is the stimulation, and the butter is the blood flow into those 3 erectile tissue systems. And we have likely been rushing sex in the matriarchal way, which is, oh, I've got a hard on, let's have intercourse, instead of getting the kind of lovemaking that we need, which is full body touch, holding, words of adoration, genital massage, maybe an extended or expanded orgasm, stroking practice, lots of oral pleasuring. And then eventually, when we're very engorged with blood, we can have good quality intercourse. But we've often rushed all of that, and we've never really had good quality intercourse. We've never really gotten our genitals fully engorged. And so we've basically been having sex with a flaccid vulva. We've been having sex without a clitoral erection. We need to get a clitoral erection, but it takes 20 minutes or longer for us to begin to get that blood flow to our pelvis. And by the time we're 50, we have half the nitric oxide production that we had when we were 20. So it takes us twice as long to get that blood flow in.
Breathwork practice.
Breath work is very helpful. Closed mouth breathing. Yeah. That is one good way to generate nitric oxide, is shut your mouth.
Yeah, I just released a breathwork masterclass. I'm so excited about it.
Oh,
that's right.
Great.
Help people tape their mouth shut at night so they're not mouth breathing.
Yes.
So they can have better sex. Now we know why it's all good for.
Exactly. Yeah, I tape my mouth shut every night when I go to bed, and I
Awesome.
really sleep so well. And I love that you never have to get up and pee. You don't have to disrupt your sleep. And I make my husband, you met him, I make my husband tape his mouth shut at night too. And it's really a game changer for sleep.
That's so great. I'm glad to
Yeah.
hear that.
Yeah, I love the mouth taping.
Awesome.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
Awesome. And you're having better sex because of it.
Yes, exactly. A lot of women think that it's a loss of hormones that means their libido drops. And though I am a big believer in bioidentical hormone replacement, I think for many women, it's less about their hormones. Because if you think about it, though we have estrogen diminishment in menopause, it's actually testosterone that is the hormone of desire. And our estrogen to testosterone ratio changes after menopause, where we actually have more testosterone. So it's bloody likely you have more testosterone than you did before menopause. So you should have more desire. The problem is that you don't, for two reasons. The one I talked about earlier, which was loss of nitric oxide production, getting blood flow to your pelvis, which allows you to lubricate your vagina and keeps that tissue in good working order and allows that erectile tissue to plump up so that you have more sensation and feelings of pleasure. As you age, you have atrophy of the tissue from diminished blood flow, and you have loss of sensation as well as loss of lubrication and thinning of the vaginal mucosa. And that's due as much, if not more, to a loss of nitric oxide production than it is to a loss of estrogen. Estrogen keeps the vaginal mucosa nice and thick, but what it doesn't do is do anything to help with lubrication. What you need is nitric oxide. You need blood flow. So that's why I always recommend a woman start with nitric oxide boosters. I make one of my own, but take whichever one you want. I make a product called Flow because my product is organic. It's made from organic fruit and vegetables, not made in a vat full of Chinese corn syrup, which is how they do chemical reactions to make citrulline and arginine and things like that in most supplements. So this can be a game changer for women. Within days, they can feel more wet and lubricated. They can feel more sensation and engorgement. Plus, it just helps with cognitive function, heart health, blood flow, edema, etc. So it's just a really, really good thing. Hormones get all the attention when nitric oxide is so vital to our vascular system. And for sex, a lot of it is blood flow and engorgement. If you can't feel it, it's not that good.
Yeah.
So
I, I, I just want to interject here. I think there's also a large, yeah, hormones definitely play a role. Nitric oxide obviously plays a role.
Yeah.
There's also like our neurotransmitters that play a role,
Yeah.
right? So if we're not having good balance of dopamine and serotonin in our neurotransmitters, which by the way, most of them are made in the gut, then we're not going to have that level of desire, right? So good gut health would be really vital to stay vital, vitally alive sexually, right?
Yeah.
And then the other piece of that is the emotional piece of this. And I'd love to hear your feedback on this because like I have a lot of, most of my patients are between the 40s and 65. So they're going through that kind of transitional phase of life. And I was just working with a lady the other day and she just had this major surgery on the lower half of her body. And there was this, I'm very like I'm very intuitive, like I can see and feel and hear things around what's going on for someone in their body. And what I could see on an energetic level is that the left side of her body was kind of shut down, like the top half wasn't communicating with the bottom half. And there was this neuro-emotional pattern that had been coming up. And I asked her about it and she said yes to this. That was around, she's coming into her crone years, right? And so she's losing there's a little bit of grieving for the youth and what all that meant and what does it mean to be a crone in our society today. And I'm so happy to have you have this conversation because you're gorgeous. You clearly take care of yourself. I think you said you're 60 years old and you are like, you own that shit. Thank you very much. Because we need that from women today to show other women that this is possible. You do not have to be what your grandma turned into.
Yeah. Yes. The emotional piece of it is very much that You need to get the kind of holding, touch, and stimulation that your body needs. And your partner wants to give it to you. They just need to know what to do because they've been treating you the way they want to be treated rather than treating you the way you need to be treated. And a part of what Brandy and I are doing in this conversation we're having is we're raising your awareness to the things that you can do and the things that you can ask for that you need so that you can have the great sex, the satisfying orgasms, and the intimacy and passion that you desire. And it is never too late, and it is always available, and everything you need is inside you right now, with the exception of a couple of laser treatments. And some photobiomodulation. And actually, I'm really joking about the laser treatments because I try to avoid them. I know that a lot of people like hormesis, the damage that is created to generate new tissue growth to reverse atrophy of aging. Whether we do that with, microdermabrasion on our faces or Fraxel lasers on our faces or whatever we're doing to keep ourselves beautiful. There are things you can do that don't require burning your subcutaneous vaginal mucosal tissue so that you feel like you have a young vagina again. Now, in intractable cases, you may have to move to that, and I have some good advice about it. And I do want to cover it. But really what I want to talk about are a couple of things. The first is I always recommend that you use just a clean organic nut oil as a lubricant. I like organic avocado oil and organic sweet almond oil. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at H&B Oil Center, but a good emollient oil rather than a sexual lubricant, because sexual lubricants are FDA controlled and they have to put preservatives in them. And keep your oils fresh. Don't let them go rancid. Use them. But they will crap up your sex toys. So if you don't wash them off, your sex toys will get ruined from them. So there's a trade-off. You could use a water-based lubricant with toxins in it that absorb into your vaginal mucosa, or you can just buy new sex toys when they get a little ratty.
Yes.
And since there's new sex toys coming out all the time, I opt for the path of organics in my vagina. I always say, if you wouldn't put it in here, you shouldn't put it in there, as in your mouth to your yoni.
That's exactly right.
That's important to me. The second thing that I want to do is I want to tell you about a couple of technologies and treatments. I'm going to talk about the VFit Gold, which is an FDA Class 2 at-home vaginal restoration device. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to talk to you about the Femi Wave, which is a shock wave therapy that revitalizes your erectile tissue in your vulva so you can regain the sensation that you've lost. When you were 30, you could feel everything. By the time you're 60, you'd be surprised at how diminished it is. Once you actually do vaginal rejuvenation treatments, you will realize how much sensation you lost. I'm going to talk to you about the O shot or orgasm shot, which is an injection of your own body's PRP into your clitoral structure to revitalize sensation and give you incredible orgasms again. And I'm going to talk to you about a couple of sex toys that I recommend that you use, and I'm going to show them all to you. And then I briefly at the end will also show you how to select a vibrator for solo pleasuring, the decision tree so that you can navigate for yourself what might be good, and how to expand your orgasmic capacity, because you have the ability as a female body to have over 20 kinds of orgasms. I can briefly give you a quick rundown of them, but to save time, I want to let you know that one of the assets I have for you is that on my website, betterlover.com, I go through the 20 kinds of female orgasm, the 20 kinds of male orgasm, and then I teach you everything, how to have penetration orgasms, how to, anything you can think of. And it's all free. That's all just free right there. So let's start with the VFit, because I think it's a very, very good product. This is a female-owned company. It's Joy Lux. This is the VFit Gold. And this is a device that you can use in the privacy of your own home. It uses 3 modalities. It's not a sex toy. It's an FDA Class 2 medical device, primarily marketed for incontinence, but it uses 3 technologies. One is photobiomodulation, or low-level laser light therapy, or red light therapy.
Nice.
And what the red light does is it stimulates mitochondrial growth. I know when you're on a biohacking show, you understand about mitochondria, the batteries of our cells, the energy, and the ATP. Well, as you age, your cells produce less energy, even in your vagina. And so what this does is it helps your vagina continue to generate new mucosa. You're always throwing off vaginal mucosa. It's one of the fastest, I think it might be the fastest place that you actually generate new tissue in your whole body. And the red light supports that, plus adapting glycogen levels so that you're not too yeasty or you don't have a smell in your vagina. And then it also uses a warmth to recollagenate the vaginal mucosa, which is very helpful as your estrogen declines as you age. And it uses a vibration, which you can probably hear lightly in the microphone.
Yeah.
That vibration is for Kegel toning to help shore up the pelvic muscles and get that contraction in the vagina, as well as hold the bladder up so you can reverse incontinence. So this 10 minutes a day, every day for 8 weeks is the initial protocol. And then you use it as needed, and it will take you from painful peeing in your pants, no lubrication, to wet, juicy, and you can sneeze and laugh and cough, etc.
Really?
It can't work for everybody. Some people are a little too far gone. This is when you start to have the symptoms and you want to reverse the atrophy of aging. If you need more, I start with this. And if you need more, then you go in for your Femi Lift, your Vaviv, your Mona Lisa, which are your RF and CO2 intravaginal lasers that actually do damage to generate new tissue to fix those problems. But before you go to damage, try remediation with VFit. And I'll give you links to all these things so that you can put them under the video and with the podcast so that people can get, because a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about are companies that I'm behind them. They know me, I know them. I'm always making recommendations for the product. So they often have a special offer, a discount, a free gift with purchase, something like that. So it's worth digging up the link from your show and clicking that link. You usually get a better price or a bonus with it. Nice. So the VFit is kind of my ground zero for all women for vaginal rejuvenation at home, which
Can
is
I say something really quickly?
Yeah.
Have you seen Grace and Frankie?
Of course.
Frankie and Grace. Do you remember that episode or that season when they were making the toys for lady 60s and older?
Yeah, I do remember that. That's so cute. I know.
It just reminded me of that. I love that show so much. It's hilarious.
We should definitely have everybody feeling really comfortable about utilizing sex toys, because sex toys are like foreplay done for you. The more that you solo pleasure, the more that you're bringing that blood flow into your tissue and expanding your orgasmic capacity. A lot of women think, oh, if I use a sex toy, it's cheating, or if I use it, I'll be addicted to it and I won't be able to have a regular orgasm or what have you. That's not true at all. No. You will expand your orgasmic capacity by using different sex toys. And why don't I just get into that right here, because there's a couple of different types of toys that are very good. The first one is the womanizer, which uses air on the clitoris. And I think this is good and women really like it, and it helps them have orgasms. What I don't like about it is that it's not doing a lot for engorgement. And as I told you in the beginning of the show, blood flow is what you need to be focused on for pleasure, to feel more pleasure. And so I think this is a good toy. And it's one of the ones you should have in your drawer. And you should have a couple of different clitoral stimulators, because you want to get different types of stimulation so that you can keep yourself coming in different ways. You want to do essentially orgasmic cross training, where you learn how to come from different types of stimulation. So it's easier when you're with a partner to come from almost anything. The second one is this, which is from Fun Factory. It's called a Volta. And this one is more like a little tongue. It kind of like
Wow.
laps your clitoris. And this is
Wow.
nice. And it can be inserted, but I think it's really good for external clitoral stimulation. And for some women, this is the thing that gets them off the best and not the kind of air stimulation of the womanizer. Now, for every woman, this is the number one sex toy I recommend if you can only buy one. And there are two sizes. This is from Fun Factory.
That's the one I have. Thank
You
you
have
everything. Yeah.
The big one or the little one?
Big one.
This is called the Lady Bi.
Love
And
it.
this is the best toy. And the Miss Bi for women who are more diminutive, who have a smaller, I've got a giant vagina, so I like the big one. But some women have a tiny vagina and they need the small one. So they make two sizes. And they're called the Bi because they have two motors. Bi means two in German, and they're like the Porsche of sex
Yeah,
toys.
they're German made. I know. I'm like, of course.
They're so good. And what's nice about it is that it stimulates the external clitoral structure, the G area inside the entrance to the vagina, as well as the anterior fornix and cervical area, which is deep inside us. So we're getting blood flow to the external and internal areas simultaneously, which is really helping us with foreplay. It's getting the blood flow in there so that when we do have intercourse and oral pleasuring, we can feel more pleasure. A solo practice is the most important thing we can do for our sexual health, is to keep ourselves having regular orgasms so that when we are lucky enough and we have the time to be with a partner, we're just juicier and readier to go and more orgasmic. And
Yeah, I
then,
know for myself, if we have a date night plan, I just pleasure myself that day, because I know then that gets me kind of in the mood, otherwise I'm going to be kind of like in workspace and then
yes,
date space. And it's just hard to make that transition for me.
exactly. That's how you're priming your pump. And then finally, the other thing that I recommend is a wand, a magic wand, or the wand from We Vibe. They're out of stock in this right this moment. I'm sure they'll get some more. But what I like about these is that you can do the whole outer vulva with these. And the outer vulva is as important as the clitoris and the vagina. You need that blood flow to the labia and the mons to really get the blood flowing in the vulva so that intercourse and oral feel good. So 4 types are the clitoral sucker, womanizer, the little licky type lappy
I need one of those.
Volta, the Lady Bi or the Miss Bi for the internal external, and then the wand for all around the outside. And going back and forth between these is going to give you much more orgasmic capacity, because you're going to learn how to have orgasms from lots of different types of stimulation, which will keep you in good shape and really help you increase the amount of pleasure that you're feeling when you do make love with someone. So I think those are very important. So we talked about the V-Fit as a vaginal rejuvenation device to go inside the vagina and kind of get it all warm and get it all working again. Then we talked about solo pleasuring and the different options that you have for solo pleasuring. And then we talked about the intravaginal lasers and CO2 devices if you really have a really bad, incontinence, or your vagina is so thin, or it's very lax, or what have you. It can be that next level of kind of like really, bomber stuff. Then we talked about the O shot, which is the PRP taken from your own body, put in a centrifuge. The red and white blood cells are removed, and the healing and growth factors from your own body's blood right in the moment are then, your clitoris is numbed, and the PRP is injected into the spongy tissue of your clitoris, and that spongy tissue soaks it up, and it brings in new nerve and tissue growth over the next, I'd say 90 days, full effect, maybe 6 months. And for many women, they've lost so much tissue out of their vulva. They've lost, their outer labia are sagging down and looking like scrotum. Their clitoris has receded back up. They've lost
Oh.
they've lost inner labial tissue. Their vagina has kind of receded. It's become more vacuous because the tissue inside has thinned, and
Oh.
maybe they've had childbirth scars. They've torn things over the years. I mean, we really get a lot. And then we've got our bladder dropping. We have a prolapsed organs. We have a prolapsed cervix. Uterus comes down into the cervical area. So we have a lot of gravity issues and blood flow issues that we need to reverse. And the good news is that with solo pleasuring, with the VFit Gold, with the O shot, and then with some of these other inpatient, in doctor office treatments, we can really get back full function at 60 and 70 years old. We can
Wow, really?
have,
So like the
Mhm.
way it looks and everything will fill back out?
Yes, it'll
No
plump back
kidding.
up and fill back out.
That is so exciting.
It is. I
I
would
didn't really
say,
know that happened because I haven't done that yet, so I'm
yeah,
like, oh wow, it's good to know that I can start now and work preventatively for those things, right?
yes. I started bioidentical hormone replacement, I would say in my 40s. And then in my 50s, mid 50s, I started the O shot. And then the VFit was invented. I've had 6 O shots. And every one of them has incrementally improved my clitoral function, my sexual pleasure, my desire, everything.
Really? Oh,
So
I'm so excited.
yeah, it's really nice.
We
And I
deserve
also,
to have that,
of course, I
Yeah.
also like PRP facials, and I like the
Hmm.
PRP hair restoration when you get thinning on your hair. I like the Capillus, which is the red light hat
Hmm.
that uses the photobiomodulation to keep your hair thick. I
I have
mean,
patients that use that and it works.
it does work.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's very, very good. It keeps the hair you have, it thickens the hair you have, and it increases the number of hairs in each follicle that you have. And
Wow.
you can really see the difference in 3 or 4 months. You'll start to see a whole bunch of new growth in your head. And
Do
then
you
that'll just
find
get
that as
thicker and grow
people
out.
age just because of aging, they're losing hair, or is it something like my patients are losing hair because they have a thyroid imbalance or something like that, or a
Well,
drain?
there is genetic hair loss, but I generally think it goes
Good.
back to what you said, which was gut. If
Yes.
you have a bad gut and you're not absorbing your B vitamins, you
Yeah.
have a genetic MTHFR SNP,
Mhm.
and you're not methylating the crappy Bs you're taking. You have dysbiosis, you've got yeast overgrowths, you've got parasites, you've got a lot of built up toxins from living in our 21st century lifestyle. If you're not pooping beautiful poops easily and regularly every single day, you start with
Yeah.
that gut.
Yeah.
That gut will I mean, you got to get all, if you're having reactions to dairy or wheat or corn or nuts or all the normal suspects. I mean, I think there are a lot of women who have thinning hair and a fat stomach because they eat wheat. I
Yep.
see women all the time and I'm like, wow, if she just stopped eating wheat, that stuff, her hair would grow back and she would not have a big belly.
Yeah, it could be even like wheat is a huge component of it. And I've had patients say, oh, well, I've stopped eating wheat and that didn't change anything. And from my perspective, and I wasn't that person's doctor, but she probably had other things going on, like it's not just one thing
Yes.
necessarily. I've seen food sensitivity tests come back and it just be like pork. And then as soon as I take them off of pork and heal the gut, guess what? No skin issues. The hair starts growing back. It's the
Yeah.
craziest thing.
It takes a long time to repair the villi of the gut
It
once
does.
that's been breached.
Yeah.
I mean, in many cases, it takes 5 to 10 years of not eating wheat for you to do a complete reversal to full gut health. You'd spent 20 or 30 years or 40 or 50 years ruining your gut. It doesn't bounce back immediately, but it bounces back pretty fast. But there's like a long, low, many miles to go type of thing. But it's totally worth it to be able
Yeah.
to live until you're 100 by doing such simple things as letting go of bread and pasta, which is
Yeah.
doing you no good anyway.
And then
So,
doing restorative care with very
yes,
specialized probiotics and
yeah,
different things like that to
yes.
help revive everything in there.
Exactly. And I really think candida, the yeast issue, is a big one for women. I think
Yeah.
between the sugar that we eat and the alcohol that we drink, we are keeping yeast at bay at best every moment of the day. So that's another big one that I think really does impact our sexuality and our body image and our desire. The good news is that if you start to eat organic vegetables and make your own fresh, healthy salad dressings and eat lean pasture raised proteins and cut down on those carbs and get out and walk and take some probiotics and masturbate a little bit, you're
Yes.
well on the way to having good sex and a good body image and feeling better in your life. And then using that orgasm power that you have to feel more confident and more bold. And I mean, the crone time is such an important time for women to step into our wisdom, our power, and our confidence, and to let go of worrying about the perfection that we've self-flagellated ourselves over the years, trying to be perfect. And we're like, oh, well, screw that. That's not going to happen. So why don't I just have a great life and a great sex life and take care of myself and enjoy carpe diem,
Yes, totally.
So, I want to talk about the masculine a little bit,
Yeah, please do.
because so many of us take care of our men. And men, they begin to have erectile dysfunction. They have nitric oxide loss, and their penis begins to atrophy and shrink. And the best remediation for them is a penis pump. So this is an example of a penis pump that I recommend, and it hooks to a cylinder like this. It just clicks in, and then you put this over the shaft, rest it at the base of the penis, and move the hand nozzle, and it pulls blood from his body into his flaccid penis and increases the blood carrying capacity of his penis and restores the blood carrying capacity.
Oh.
And it helps enlarge and remodel the penile tissue so that he gets some girth back.
No kidding.
For
So
sure.
I wasn't sure. I saw those and I was like, I guess this is for people who just have erectile dysfunction so they can get it up to have sex for a moment. But what you're saying is it's actually therapeutic.
Yes, therapeutic. There are for men with intractable ED, they have a version of the pump that pulls the blood in, and then a constriction ring is rolled down onto the base of the shaft, and that holds the blood in for about a half an hour so they can get the rigidity for penetration. But most men aren't that far gone. Most men can reverse their ED, and they can reverse their ED by using a penis pump, getting a P shot, which is the O shot version of for the penis. It's the
Yeah,
pre of
I know
the shot.
guys have done that actually. Yeah.
And then getting a gains wave treatment or using a Phoenix Pro at
I hear
home.
that's amazing.
Yes, they work really well. They have the Phoenix Him and the Phoenix Her now. And I have a lot of couples who just do this together. She's got her V-Fit and her Phoenix Her, and he's got his penis pump and his Phoenix Him. And they just pump and do their work, and they watch a show, and they just take care of their sexual health together because they're used to each other. They're used to each other's bodies. They're comfortable with each other's genitals. They know that it's hashtag self-care down there. And many couples who follow me are doing this together now to maintain their sexual function and stay sexually robust as they age. So the gains wave treatments are absolutely fantastic for men. They knock the plaque off those penile arteries, which allows more blood flow to get in so they can get enough blood to lock off and hold that blood in for erectile rigidity. And for many men that can't get to a gains wave practitioner, the Phoenix Pros are really good. So they can DIY. So now finally, I have an entire tool set of supplements, recommended toys, recommended devices, and everything can be done at home except for the worst cases where they need the big $50,000 machines and you got to go get the treatments. Yeah. So it's just really incredible what is possible when you're aware that these are available to you and you can go and get these treatments done. And the good news is that the V-Fit price just came down. And the pumps cost almost nothing. And the sex toys cost maybe, $100 to $120 for one of the, like the Lady Buy or the Miss Buy. They're not expensive. And they do so much to keep you feeling good.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for all that. Now I'm curious, you did touch on something just a second ago about calcification. Can you kind of enlighten me on the encalcification and penile dysfunction?
I didn't say the word calcification.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, maybe I heard you say not what did you say?
I don't know. I'm not sure what I said.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe I misunderstood.
I don't know.
That's okay. Awesome. Well, that is really cool. And so if someone were to work with you, what would that look like?
I don't do any one-on-one. I'm a publisher of passionate lovemaking techniques, bedroom communication skills, and sexual health and wellness treatment guides. And the sexual health and wellness treatment guides that I create, I just give away. I have one for the male, and I have a printout of that one here. I've got a hard copy. It's called The Pump Guide. It explains the penis pumping, the gains waves, the Phoenix Pros, the nitric oxide, the testosterone replacement, the supplements I recommend, all that stuff. That's at pumpingguide.com. And then I also have something called it's a book on all these vaginal rejuvenation and restoration types of things that I've gone through and my opinions about what's worth it and what's not, and how to do it and where to go and what to use. And that's at vaginalrestorationbook.com. So if you want to dig deeper in, like, what did she say? Say that again. They're all available. So that can be really helpful just to be able to find some more information about the things that I've mentioned.
Awesome. Awesome. And then your supplement line.
Yes, that's at the 20 store, THE20 store.com. The 20 is the 80-20 rule, that 20% of your the efforts get 80% of your results. And what I put in my supplements is quality organic materials that actually get the results. So
I really appreciate that.
Me too. It's very hard to find those things. I had to make it myself because I couldn't find what I wanted anywhere else. The supplement industry can really use a lot of junk in their formulations.
No joke.
I am a fussy little organic girl.
Yay. Yeah, it's so necessary in our world today.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. I mean, dis-ease, whether it be erectile dysfunction or, drop in libido or hormonals or, gut or neurotransmitters or mood disorders, or it doesn't matter what you're dealing with. It's not just one thing. I've said that before, like when my grandpa was a doctor in the 50s to 70s, it was, oh, my finger hurts. You have a bacterial infection, not a chronic illness that has multiple components to it that we don't even know what's wrong because it's so complex. Yes. And that's how it is today. And so eating organic and being sure that the things that you're putting inside your body in whatever way you're doing that is clean and helpful and regenerative for your body. It's going to make a huge difference.
You said something earlier about neurotransmitters, and I wanted to add to that. When we got our sex education, we were basically scared to death.
Yeah.
You're going to get pregnant. Semen is scary. You're going to get an STI. You should abstain. And so for a lot of people, they have a hard time really relaxing into the pleasure of lovemaking. But one little interesting thing, and she'd be a wonderful guest for your show, Dr. Devaki Lindsay Berkson wrote a book called, oh God, what the hell was it called? I'll think of it. But in her book, she explained all the benefits to women of our partners, our male-bodied partners' semen. Ooh. His semen has luteinizing hormone to regulate us even after menopause. We still are women who run with the moon. It has serotonin, which is a mood elevator. It has zinc, which helps us with cognitive function. It has testosterone, which literally gives us our balls, our energy, our confidence. We need more testosterone. It gives us our sex drive, which is why when you make love and you're like, oh God, why don't we do this more often? This is really fun. The more you have sex, the more you enjoy it, the more you enjoy it, the more you have, the more you have, the more you want. And it's a fantastic vascular event. you get oxytocin, you generate so many good hormones and neurotransmitters by making love. You have the bonding and the intimacy and the closeness. So I know this episode was about what we can do to remediate our aging genitals by sexual biohacking.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, I teach people how to make love, how to transform having sex into making love. My programs teach those things. As a matter of fact, we were talking about one of your recent episodes with Alicia from the Pleasure Course, and she teaches expanded orgasm. And my husband and I, and you've met my husband, Tim, he and I have had a 17-year expanded orgasm practice. We have been settling down, butterflying my legs open, and giving me the clitoral stroking technique that Alicia described on one of your recent episodes about extended orgasm. And that has been one of my hallmark programs, has been helping people learn how to have orgasms from penetration, while equally making sure that they understand that sex is also about genital pleasuring, and that doesn't have to come from the penis in the vagina, and expanding people's palettes of how to co-create pleasure together. So one of the reasons that I became a sexpert and dedicated the last 15 years of my life to helping people have passionate, heart-connected lovemaking and get over the trauma and the shame and the pain and get into the connection, the heart, the eyes, the breath, the touch, the sensuality, the bliss, the orgasmic nirvana, is that it is such a fundamental and core part of our humanity. If you think about the pleasure of food, the pleasure of sex is the same. I'm going to leave here now and I'm going to make a brisket. And that's going to provide incredible joy for the people that I feed tonight, making a New England boiled dinner. And so will the lovemaking that I have will create incredible joy. The love of friends, the love of family, the love of nature, the love of music and arts, the love of moving our bodies in space together and solo. These are all of the things that are the most important. And in times like we're going through now, when life seems particularly hard and stressful, this is when we have to find our way back to the most essential parts of ourselves. And I really feel like our sexuality is something that we should be loath to squander, that we should fight for it. And the sexual biohacking is one of the ways we can stay in the game, which is why I've devoted myself to trying everything out and sharing it with people so that you can make your decision about what might work for you, what you might need. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you, Brandy, and you're so sex positive and you have such great guests. And I just hope that I've touched some people's lives for the better today. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely. It's my greatest pleasure to be able to support women as yourself who support all the other women who deserve to have joy and fun and body love and embodiment of their feminine and their sexual nature as good with a capital G.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I will put links to the show notes or links in the show notes to all the things we talked about today. And yeah, if you have any questions, reach out and we'll look forward to seeing you or hearing you on the next show.